I was off to New Zealand again this past December and had the opportunity to get up close to Sir Peter Jackson's collection of First World War fighter aircraft. Just awesome to be able to see these beautiful aircraft up close, and it gave me an idea. I've always loved the idea of the biplane and the biplane era, and something I've been wanting to do is just to demonstrate some bare metal painting techniques. Probably my favorite of the biplane fighters was the Hawker Fury biplane. It's just a lovely subject, so I was keen to do something along those lines and thought I would combine the two. So here we go. I'm going to give a basic demonstration on bare metal techniques before we get stuck into painting the aircraft, do some sketching in between, and yes, hope you guys enjoy it. Okay, let's get started. Started by sketching the Hawker Fury so long, using my 48 scale model of the aircraft for reference, and later on in the video this is going to be the feature painting. So I look forward to that, and also demonstrating some of the techniques I'm going to share with you along the way. The color metal consists of many different colors. There's no such thing as a singular metal paint. So one has to, as an artist, you have to curate that effect by using often all the colors in the rainbow, and that's essentially what metal is. And although it is grey at its base, it's often just a reflection of its environment. So there'll be the blues there, the browns, greens, earthy colors, purples, greys, pretty much everything. That all constitutes a metal effect. To demonstrate this, I've drawn a couple of cylinders, and I'm going to give them my rough metal treatment. Just a quick rough spontaneous impression, mainly washes, and we'll do a bit of finishing, a couple of panel lines, a bit of riveting, a bit of wear and tear, a bit of dirt and grime on the metal as well. Have a bit of fun with it, and you'll see as I progress from the start, it actually starts to look like I'm painting a landscape on the side of the cylinder. And as I said before, metal is a reflection of its environment. So often a metal aircraft flying in the sky, if it's a highly polished aircraft, polished metal, will actually reflect the landscape in the side of the fuselage. That's essentially what you see as a metal effect. Of course, in addition to this, you have the panel lines, the riveting, and some panels have different shades. Some are different metals, some different alloys. So there'll be maybe some panels that have a really highly polished effect or polished finish, and some that have a rather more of a dull, maybe even a copper or bronze finish. But that makes it interesting, and it's good fun to play around with this. On this first cylinder, you can see the light is shining on the side and slightly from above, whereas the next cylinder, one can see it is from above and slightly from behind. I've done this to show the different lighting effect on a cylinder, possibly different time of day, and also different metals. The second cylinder is maybe, for example, tin, something like that, and also to show the light source and reflected light. In most cases, the reflected light would be the earth below, landscape colors, and your main light source obviously the sun and sky. Okay, so now I'm going to have a bit of fun. I've sketched out two jets, fairly well-known aircraft from the roughly 50s and 60s, the Thunderjet and of course the Lightning. And yeah, I'm just going to have a bit of fun with these, just with basic washes, more of a watercolor technique I guess, a rather thin acrylic on paper, starting with the blues and greys and working into the warmer colors. Once again, the main light source and the reflected light, but at the same time working in all those colors, getting all those colors in. One doesn't want an effect that's too grey, dead and dull. As I've said before, there are more colors in metal than one realizes. So we've got this F-84 flying at altitude. It's going to reflect the sky in the top half of the fuselage. It's going to reflect the landscape in the bottom half. Okay, time to get started with the painting of the Hawker Fury biplane. As most of you will know, the Hawker Fury was not an all-metal aircraft. However, there's enough metal and bare metal panels to work with, to have fun with, to demonstrate this technique. And starting off with the blues and greys, and now at this stage working in the earthy colours, the earthy tones that are reflected on the bottom half and the lower parts of the aircraft. And you'll notice as I add them, this just contrasts so well with the blue and greys of the upper surface of the fuselage that's reflecting the main light source and the blue sky. Okay, now we're going to add some of the dark areas, some of the dark shadows underneath the wing and certain areas, and just define the lines of the aircraft, define where the shadows are, some of the deeper, darker reflections. And this is important at this stage. It's very rough. It's by comparison too dark to the rest of the other tones and other colors, but that's fine for now. Remember, this is essentially the fun part of the painting, so there's no such thing as a correct or incorrect brush stroke when you're adding certain textures. Some strokes effects happen by accident and they're great, so you just leave them. Essentially what I'm doing at this stage is just getting all the colors in the aircraft, getting it covered with the greys and the blues and the earthy tones. And once all the colors are in, even just in the rough state, I'm then better able to see what colors are needed or finishing is needed in certain areas, and I can start finishing, adding finer details. But it's important to get to the stage where there's just a basic simple effect, and you've got a starting place pretty much at halfway, that one can get a general view of how things are progressing. I've mentioned this before, but don't get discouraged if you at the stage and you say it looks terrible. It's going to look terrible because it's not finished. Only a finished project looks finished. Now that may sound self-explanatory or rather silly, but it often happens that an art student of mine gets discouraged or despondent when they've just started a painting and they already expect to see finished results. I think the key element is still to be able to relax, to enjoy it, and not be intimidated by your own painting, by your own canvas or paper, or whatever subject you're doing. One is to get to that level where you just relax, and it takes a while. I know for myself, when I started my career as a full-time artist, being at college, doing these exercises, drawings in class, that was great, that was fun. But the minute it was more on the commercial, more serious side, the pressure was on, and it became more difficult, more challenging, and it's understandable. And it took a while to work through that, just to get back to the fun element, back to the part where I was no longer intimidated by my own canvas. I was the boss of what I was doing. I was in charge. It takes a while, but once you break through that and you realize you've got through to the reason why you're doing it in the first place, and that is for the love of it. Anyone who's really good at something, it's not because it's been easy, it's because they've got a passion and a love for it that's caused them or made them to persevere. And that's it, and it's worth it. It's great. As I often say, having a talent is a great start. However, that's also all it is, a great start. So one needs to take the time to invest in one's talent, to develop skills, to develop techniques, to be able to be well practiced at what you do. You will notice I'm using that brush as I would, say, a pencil or a pen, and that brush feels completely at home in my hand. I'm in tune with my equipment, and that's so important. The more time you spend practicing and developing your skills, the more at home that brush or that instrument or that tool will feel at home in your hand, and you will have better results. Okay, that's enough of a motivational talk for now. Let's get back to the painting of the Hawker Fury biplane. I've just noticed a couple of errors that crept in the drawing phase. One of these is the subtle bulge just forward of the glazing of the windscreen. The other, the dihedral on the upper wing, is far too accentuated. I think the upper wing of the Hawker Fury hardly had any dihedral. If it was there, it was very, very slight, very, very subtle. So I'll fix that still. And of course the major error I've noticed now is the radiator under the fuselage is set too far back. So I'll fix that as well. So it's always good to come back to your work and have a look at it again. Look at it again with a fresh eye, review what you've done, see the progress. pick up certain things that either look really good or maybe something that's out of place, maybe too dark, too big, whatever the case may be. In my case so far, it's the inaccuracies that I've just mentioned a few minutes ago, so I'm busy sorting those out at the moment. Another idea is to work as a group and share one's ideas, share one's progress, get objective criticism, ideas. It's always useful, always helpful. The brushes I've used are all watercolor brushes, numbers 14, 8 and 4. And the paints I've used are water-based acrylic paints, colors lemon yellow, Mars black, crimson red, titanium white, cad orange and ultramarine. Now to end things off, I'm going to add a rough sky, an impression of a landscape below, and that should pretty much be it, apart from adding a few last finer details. This video has turned out longer than expected, but it's been quite tricky to keep it short. I'll have to work on my editing skills there. But in closing, my final comment would be that obviously the purpose of this video is to inspire. Each artist has got their own way of approaching their technique, their way of painting aircraft, bare metal, whatever the case may be, and whatever works for you, go for it. At the end of the day, we're looking for a certain effect, a certain result. So this is my way of approaching it. And go out there, get painting, and have fun. This is my 4th YouTube video, long overdue. It's taken slightly longer than expected to put together and edit and so forth, but it's been great. I've also learned a few things along the way, and I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Lastly, I'd like to apologize. The sound quality is not that great here and there. I'm working on that in forthcoming videos. Hopefully I'll get that sorted out and have a better quality sound. Yeah, so please bear with me. Thanks guys. Thanks for watching, and as always, if you like what you see, please like, subscribe. Until next time.